Assalamu alaikum students. Today our topic is potassium dichromate. K2Cr2O7. This potassium dichromate is obtained from the chromite ore when it is fused with the sodium hydroxide. There are various steps involved for this preparation of the potassium dichromate from chromite ore. The various steps, we will first discuss those steps one by one. Potassium dichromate is obtained from, or prepared from, chromite ore, which involves following steps. So what are those steps which are involved in the preparation of the potassium dichromate from this chromite ore? Number first is that this chromite ore is fused with sodium hydroxide or the sodium carbonate, and we get sodium chromate. Then this sodium chromate is converted into sodium dichromate. In the next step, the sodium dichromate is converted into the potassium dichromate. So, in this today's topic of the potassium dichromate, we will study only the preparation and few properties, and in the next lecture we will study the rest of the properties of the potassium dichromate. So, the preparation, step first, conversion of chromite ore into potassium chromate. How we will convert the chromite ore into the potassium chromate? We fuse the chromite ore with the sodium hydroxide or sodium carbonate in presence of air. So first, by fusing with NaOH in presence of air. So FeCr2O4 plus NaOH. It forms, in presence of the air, it forms Fe2O3 plus Na2Cr O4 plus water. Now we will balance the reaction. We will multiply O3 by 2, and we have now 4 times. We will multiply it by 4. We have chromium 8 times. We will multiply it by 8. We have sodium 16 times. We will multiply it by 16. We have hydrogen 16 times. We will multiply it by 8. Now we have oxygen, and we have to calculate the oxygen on the right hand side so that we will balance it with the left hand side. So 2 3s are 6, 6, 8 4s are 32 plus 8, okay, 46. Here we have 4 4s are 16 plus 16, 32, 46 में 32, 14. So on the left hand side in this O2 में हमें 14 oxygen होनी चाहिए ताकि the reaction gets balanced. So we will multiply it by 7 so that the number of the oxygen atoms on the left hand side and the right hand side are 14 and the reaction or 46 so that the reaction gets balanced. This was the reaction when we take it with the sodium hydroxide, and if this is fused with this is chromite ore, if this chromite ore is now fused with sodium carbonate Na2CO3 in presence of air, again we have Fe2O3, we have sodium chromate, and instead of water here we have carbon dioxide. So this is sodium chromate and this is ferric oxide. Again we will balance it. We will multiply it by 2. We have 4 times iron. We will multiply it 4. We have 4 2s are 8 times Cr. We will multiply it by 8. We have 16 times sodium. We will multiply it by 8. Again जैसे कि earlier reaction में we will have देखो carbons 8 times. We will multiply it 8 times and now our oxygen will be 7 times. Now, this is the second reaction in which we convert this chromite ore when it is fused with the sodium carbonate instead of the sodium hydroxide, and we get sodium chromate. In both the reactions, we convert chromite into sodium chromate. Now, the next step is conversion of sodium chromate into sodium dichromate. The sodium chromate solution is now acidified with the concentrated sulfuric acid. On acidification with concentrated H2SO4, sodium chromate is converted into the sodium dichromate. So Na2CrO4 plus H2SO4. Now, when we treat it with H2SO4, we get Na2Cr2O7 plus Na2Cr2O7 plus Na2SO4. We'll multiply it by twice. So sodium 4 times, 2 and 2 4 times, sulfate 1, hydrogen 2, sulfate 1, oxygen 2 4s are 8, oxygen 7 plus 1 time water. Now this is sodium dichromate. Sodium sulfate being the less stable, it crystallizes out of the solution, leaving behind in the solution sodium dichromate. तो सोडियम डाइक्रोमेट को हम वहाँ से लेते हैं and then we convert it into the potassium dichromate. Conversion of sodium dichromate into potassium dichromate. This filtered solution obtained from this above reaction, that is sodium dichromate, it is mixed with the equimolar solution of potassium chloride, and then when the two are mixed we get the crystals, orange crystals of potassium dichromate or form. So potassium dichromate is now prepared by mixing equimolar solution of it is hot concentrated. We are taking the hot concentrated equimolar solution of sodium dichromate and potassium chloride. Now Na2Cr2O7 plus KCl forms K2Cr2O7 plus NaCl. This is potassium dichromate. This potassium dichromate, being less soluble, crystallizes out from the solution in the form of orange, red crystals. They crystallize out in the form of orange red crystals, leaving behind the sodium salt in the solution. In this way, potassium dichromate is obtained from this chromite ore by involving the three steps. In the first step, we convert the chromate ore into the sodium chromate by treating it either with the sodium hydroxide or with the sodium carbonate. In the next reaction, next step, the sodium chromate is converted into the sodium dichromate. Then we acidify it with the concentrated sulfuric acid. So in the reaction we get the sodium dichromate and sodium sulfate. Sodium sulfate. This sodium sulfate, being less soluble, crystallizes out of the solution, and this sodium carbonate chromate solution is taken, it is filtered, and from this sodium dichromate solution we mix it, we prepare potassium dichromate. तो यहाँ पर एक और चीज हमें याद रखनी है कि जब हम सोडियम क्रोमेट लेते हैं, इसको हम इक्विमोलर सॉल्यूशन ऑफ द पोटेशियम क्लोराइड और मेजर्ड क्वांटिटी ऑफ पोटेशियम क्लोराइड सॉल्यूशन से मिला के we mix the two and we get the potassium dichromate. This potassium dichromate which crystallizes out from the solution in the form of the orange crystals and leaving behind the sodium salt in the solution. So in this way we prepared this potassium dichromate. Now we will take the properties of the potassium dichromate, and today we will discuss only its physical properties. Number one, it is orange red crystalline substance. तो ये ऑरेंज रेड क्रिस्टल्स में एग्जिस्ट होता है कौन? ये पोटेशियम डाइक्रोमेट. Number second is its melting point is, it melts at, its melting point is 669 Kelvin. Number third, it is moderately soluble in cold water but is freely soluble in hot water. So these are some of the properties of this potassium dichromate. If we take the chemical properties, there are so many chemical properties that will not be completed in this today's lecture, and we will discuss those properties in the next lecture, but we will take a chemical property only. On heating, it decomposes into potassium chromate